In today's Is It Worth It series, we are looking at store-bought versus homemade cream of mushroom soup. I kind of went back and forth on this one. Here is a big batch of cream of mushroom soup. Here are 2 cans, a regular and a gluten-free. We are going to break it all down. I wasn't sure which direction this was gonna go. I had an idea in my head. It took a little bit of a turn. You'll have to watch and see. I'm going to show you how to make this easy homemade cream of mushroom soup sauce that you can use in your cooking. I'm also going to break down all the ingredient costs and compare the store-bought can prices versus the homemade ingredient prices. So let's get to it and see whether or not it is worth it to make homemade cream of mushroom soup, or should you just use the cans. Ingredient and cost breakdown for cream of mushroom soup. I have 2 store-bought varieties here. One is the store brand, $1.23 for the can of store brand. This is the typical 10-ounce can. There are some larger cans that if you need or you're doubling up something, go ahead and buy that family size. But that is the price for this typical can of cream of mushroom soup. The gluten-free version here is $2.83. So ingredients that I have here, the mushrooms were $1.75. This is a 4-ounce box. So if you're doing a double batch or a double meal of some kind, get the 8-ounce box. It'll be a little bit cheaper that way, getting the bigger boxes. Butter is about $1. The milk 50 cents, and the flour anywhere between 10 cents and 50 cents depending on which type you're using. All-purpose flour works, but I'm going to go ahead and make this gluten-free so that everybody in our family can eat whatever it is I decide to make with this homemade cream of mushroom soup. So the homemade version is definitely going to be more expensive, even $1 more than the gluten-free can over here. So cost-wise, the cans win by a mile / $1, $2. So there is that to consider. So let me show you how to make this in this skillet real quick, and then we will do our final comparison, and I will share my thoughts and opinion on whether it's worth it to make your own cream of mushroom soup, or should you just buy it from the store in the cans. Okay, let's start by melting the butter. I'm going to turn this on to high heat. We're going to add 4 tablespoons of butter in. I just put them in pads so that they melt faster. Okay, while that is melting, I'm going to go ahead and measure out 4 tablespoons of flour into a little bowl. And then I have my whisk ready to go. Your whisk is the most important tool here. We want to get this covered, coating, melting all on the bottom. And then once this is melted, we will whisk in the flour to make a paste. And also you want to have ready and waiting your milk. This all happens very quickly, so I highly recommend having everything right here together. After we make the sauce, then we will add a little salt, pepper, and the chopped up mushrooms. Okay, so this is almost ready for the flour. So I'm gonna add that flour. I pre-measured it. I generally, when making this sort of homemade white sauce, if you will, I do equal parts of butter and flour. The amount of milk that you add can go up or down depending on how thick or thin that you want the sauce. So we need to grab, I got a little here in the corners. Let me get that out of there. So this is our paste. Now we don't want this flour to burn, so that's why we have the milk ready. And I am going to, we don't want any clumps, so I'm going to whisk and pour at the same time to keep any clumps from forming from this paste. I'm not left-handed, can you tell? See, I'm also watching through the camera, not through real life. Okay, let me get these guys over here, and then I'm gonna finish pouring that in. I need my right hand. I'm also like hugging the tripod here, so this is, you know, not awkward. I don't think we have any clumps here, so that's good. If you just do it quickly, the whisking and the pouring quickly, shouldn't get any clumps. Let me get the rest of this in here. Okay, so when making this sauce, I'm gonna have it on high heat until we start to see some bubbles. Then I'll reduce to medium. The medium heat will help it thicken faster. And then once we see that it's thickening, I will add in the salt, pepper, and chopped mushrooms, and then I'll let it simmer for a couple minutes so that those mushrooms can sort of cook down into the sauce. So I will be right back. I can start to see some bubbles, but I'll be right back when it's time to add the other ingredients. Okay, it's starting to thicken on the edges, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it a little stir because it's trying to clump up. This is probably because of the gluten-free flour. If you're using a regular flour, it's not gonna do this little clumping situation, but I can just whisk it all back together. Okay, add more milk if you want it to be thinner, and add, you shouldn't need to add less milk than you see here. Okay, that's getting better. All right, I'm gonna reduce that heat, and then I'm gonna mix in the mushrooms. I just ran my knife really quickly through those. That 4-ounce box of Baby Bellas. The Baby Bella, I think, is the best mushroom for this sauce. This gluten-free flour does have a slightly different consistency, so I probably will add a little bit more milk to this because those mushrooms are not going to release too much liquid. I would just say to do like half a cup-ish at a time to get it to where you like it. And these aren't going to simmer that long, so it shouldn't release too much liquid from the sauce, if you will. That's a better consistency right there. So 1/4 cup, half a cup at a time. Of course, if you over add, you could just let some of the liquid boil off, but that looks like a beautiful sauce right there. Okay, now I'm just gonna do a couple pinches of salt, a couple pinches of pepper, and then stir that on through. Let this simmer for a couple minutes and our sauce is going to be ready. Okay, I'll be back when this is finished simmering and we will do our comparison and I will share my opinion on. Here we are finished with our homemade sauce. It's the perfect consistency, just thick enough. See, it's still piping hot. I let it simmer for a couple more minutes and here we are. Okay, so here we are for my final opinion. Quantity-wise, there's more in the homemade version, even after thinning this out with the can's worth of milk. So quantity-wise, this does have more, which makes sense because the ingredients cost more. So here, we're gonna have to do a tally on this one because this is kind of a toss-up and it kind of depends on how you think about this particular sauce. Convenience, the cans win for sure. Drop it in, add milk, whisk together, whether you're adding to the slow cooker, to a baking dish, however you want to do it, convenience. Very, very simple, very easy. Also easy if you have a gluten-free eater because there is a great gluten-free options. So far they're winning. Typically with homemade sauces, one of my reasons is you have a food intolerance of some kind. So in this case, if it's gluten, you've got a pretty great canned option. And the only other big one would be dairy. So if you need to be dairy-free, you can make this easily with a dairy-free margarine and rice milk. I have actually made that many times over the years. It turns out fantastic. The rice milk has no, it's bland, has no like flavor. Like don't use almond milk, you'll get a nutty flavor. So anyways, if you're dairy-free, that would be the main reason to make homemade. If you're not dairy-free, cost and convenience of the cans means store-bought is going to be the winner. So that's gonna be my final opinion and caveat. If you're dairy-free, you're definitely gonna need to be making your own. If you just are a sauce snob, then you need to be making your own. I'm a semi-snob on sauces. That was a lot of S's. You get the idea. I do love the freshness and the homemade taste of these, but also the convenience of the cans is real great. So I think that this is tough. I think store-bought wins on this one, mainly because of the convenience. And if we have a dairy allergy, homemade would win, obviously. So there is my final opinion on that. when I'm deciding on which ingredient or sauce or topic to feature here in the Is It Worth It series, I really don't know how it's gonna go until I kind of talk it out and do a full cost breakdown and analysis of how much the ingredients cost versus, and thinking about the convenience and the efficiency, and of course, in this case, the food allergies. So this one, I kind of was leaning that it would be the homemade would win, just because I like to make homemade sauces. After a couple tries, you get really good at it. It's easy, you don't really have to think about it. I think that's a big hang up with sauces like this, is you're like, oh, that seems like daunting. I've never made it. Am I gonna mess it up? Which is one of the reasons I wanted to show you here how to do it. So, but I think overall in this case, store-bought's gonna win. I don't know. I kind of feel bad saying that because I do love a homemade white sauce. I do love a homemade cream of mushroom soup. So there it is. Let me know what you think in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if you're gonna try this recipe, or tell me that that's crazy, I'm never making that homemade. The can is so easy, so convenient. Then let me know that as well. Tell me what you think. Is it store-bought or homemade for you? Also, please subscribe to the channel. We're releasing new videos all the time. They are gaining steam, gaining traction. We have all kinds of new friends joining us here through YouTube and over on the blog. So thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for helping other people find our channel so that we can reach more people with this concept and idea of spending as little money on groceries as possible while still feeding our family healthful, delicious dinners. All right, my friend, it's bye for now, and I will see you in the next episode.